Good evening and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi. And I'm not really sure why we're starting on camera 3. Let's go to camera 2. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is going to be an eventful night. Just like always, we very much get you used to having important information given to you. Tonight we have two subjects that we will tackle. One of them is the economy, but we're going to tackle that one in the second half hour of the program. At first, we're going to also visit Bishop Williamson, Richard Williamson. We've been talking about Bishop Williamson for the last 4 weeks, actually. We tackled his story 2 weeks before mainstream media decided to talk about him. Bishop Richard Williamson was brought back into the church after 20 years of excommunication. Because he has a different belief about the Holocaust. We're going to show you the same interview that we showed you a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, with Bishop Williamson. Not the whole thing, but we're going to the most important aspects of it. What is happening now, ladies and gentlemen, to Richard Williamson is, now he was over the seminary, the St. Pius X, or the Society of St. Pius X. They had assigned him over a seminary in Argentina. A few days ago, they relieved him of that position. The Vatican had asked Williamson 2 weeks ago to recant his views on the Holocaust. He said he will, after he studies new evidence. He will change his mind if he's convinced that what he believes in is wrong. Now, he has a different belief about what took place during the 40s in Germany. He doesn't believe the story of the Holocaust as is stated by the Zionist organization and as is stated by many, many countries, that 6 million Jews died during the Holocaust. This is extremely important. We're not going to talk about the Holocaust. We're not going to talk about 6 million Jews. We're going to talk about this man and his right to believe in what he believes in. This man is a bishop. He did not become a bishop for being stupid or insane. And he's not the only one, but unfortunately all, and I mean all of the people who were around him, supporting him, believing in what he believes in, they very much have deserted him now because he's free game for the Zionists and the Jews out there who wants his head. To them, this is very dangerous, that someone with that caliber and someone who holds the position of a bishop within the Catholic Church. Now, they did not really have a problem with his interview back in November on Swedish TV, but when the Pope decided in January to bring him back to the church after 20 years of being excommunicated, and the only reason he was excommunicated because he was made a bishop by Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre, who had a problem with where the Vatican was going, especially Vatican II. And now, after 20 years, they brought him back. When they brought him back into the church, that's when all hell broke loose. and exactly what happened. As a matter of fact, yesterday the Pope met with many Jewish leaders who very much demanded that he, number one, disassociate himself from the comments made by Bishop Williamson about the Holocaust. Number two, they put in a lot of pressure on a lot of people to destroy this man. And his society, the St. Pius the 10th Society, has deserted him. They fired him from his job. So now the man is homeless, jobless, just because he's saying that there were no gas chambers in Germany and that 6 million Jews did not die. He's saying, when he was asked to recant that, he said, "Show me the evidence and I will change my views." Well, they did not really give him chance to change his views. They killed him. Professionally, that is, not destroyed him. Let's use a different word. Destroyed him. Destroyed his career. Destroyed everything he had worked for. He became a Catholic too, and this is in his own words, so he can preach the truth. Now, if he is good enough to preach the truth and become a bishop, he's not good enough to say something about the Holocaust? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to switch gears, and we're going to show, before we go to Richard Williamson, let's switch gears to the economy and what is happening in the economy, because we will be tackling this in the next half hour. But just a couple of things to remind you with. For years now, I have told you that the economic war will be the one that we will lose. And if you remember, when the stock market fell, and the next day we were talking about $790 billion bailout, I told you right then and there, markets don't do that overnight. Banks don't go bankrupt overnight. Billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars don't disappear overnight without a warning, unless we were attacked, and unless we were attacked financially. I told you we will be attacked financially because that's the war that we cannot win. That is the war that none of our F-16s or our nuclear bombs will be able to protect us from that. That's what will bring down the country, is the economic war. And if you've been watching the news and paying attention, many companies and American corporations are laying off people by the tens of thousands. Now, I told you this way back in October, the beginning of October, that Congress Brad Sherman, he came on the floor of the House and said that they threatened us if we don't vote for the bailout. That's what Congress Brad Sherman of California said. He said if we did not vote for the bailout, they threatened us with martial law in the streets the next day. Now, we did play Brad Sherman's speech, few minutes of it, where he actually mentioned exactly that the government of George Bush, threatened Congress that if they don't vote for the bailout, is going to be chaos in the streets, is going to be martial law. Well, today in the second half hour, we're going to show you a little speech by a senator a couple of days ago on C-SPAN, where he tells us exactly what happened and what the threat was all about. And I was right when I told you we are facing a financial war that we cannot defend. And we're going to show you in the second half hour what we are talking about. The war is not over with. On the contrary, it's still going on. Well, what we're going to show you first is we're going to show you who this bishop is. who Richard Williamson is, and you judge for yourself if the man is okay up there or not. If the man speaks the truth or not, or if he's nuts, or if he's stupid or insane. You decide. Let's play the first clip with Bishop Richard Williamson, just to show you what the man thinks and who he is.
It's not ruling us today. It's not a party as brutal, as openly brutal as the Stalinist Russia was. It's not yet a police state imposing upon us to say that 2 and 2 are 5. But the police state, of course, every single one of you knows, is certainly closing in, both here and in the United States for sure and certain. The police state took a great leap forwards with 9/11, that's for certain. And I hope none of you believe that 9/11 is what it was presented to be. It was, of course, the 2 towers came down, but it was absolutely for certain not 2 aeroplanes which brought down those 2 towers. They were professionally demolished by a series of demolition charges from top to bottom of the towers. If you doubt that, look up on the internet 911mysteries.com. I mention this, you may find I keep mentioning this in sermons. Why do I keep mentioning this in sermons? Because truth is at stake. Because if the towers were pulled down by 2 aeroplanes, then the party is virtually in control. The party has got hold of people's minds. The party can push over all kinds of propaganda and lies in its media. And if the people swallow the lies, they will be enslaved. Our Lord said, the truth will make you free, the corollary of which is lies will enslave you. At the moment, the whole world is being told lies by these media, by the government, by the politicians, by the universities, by the teachers, and worst of all, alas, by the cardinals and the highest authorities in the church. We are being enslaved by lies, and the most outstanding global lie of recent times to enslave the minds of all of us, or to deceive the minds of all of us, and thereby to enslave us by making us all believe that the police state is a good thing and a necessary thing, which is why the police state has advanced in leaps and bounds as it has. The most exciting example is 9.
Okay. Well, some of you might say, oh, did he say that the 2 planes were not brought down by the 2 planes? Yeah, that's what he said. And he said that truth is at stake here. The truth will set you free. We have been talking about this for the last 6 years, that 9/11 is a lie. What took place there is a lie. And this bishop, you know, you're not going to be a bishop and get up there and say nonsense. But that doesn't mean because everybody else thinks differently that this man is insane or this man doesn't know what he's talking about. If you've been watching this program, you know that's what we've been preaching for the last 6 years. The truth. We want the truth. But you see what happens? We are fighting a huge, huge media. Media that want to control your mind and make you think, because if you really think about it, everything you think is not something that you read in a book, most of you. It's not something that somebody else told you. Mainly your information has been coming from mainstream media. Just look around the room. Everything, your philosophy, your thoughts, you are being drilled and programmed to believe one thing and one thing only, what they want you to believe, what their agenda is. That's how they work. As long as you are watching this television, you will be programming You will be programmed with whatever comes out of that tube, and most of you don't watch Current Issues TV. If you do, you will have a totally different opinion about what really is taking place in the world, what really is taking place in this country, what really, look at this, Senator Judd Gregg of New Hampshire. He was supposed to be the senator for, he was supposed to be the Commerce Secretary. Now, today, without even telling Barack Obama that he doesn't want the job, he withdrew. Now, this man came to Barack Obama, and he wanted the job. And Barack Obama, because of what Barack Obama is, he wants to have bipartisan cabinet. He doesn't want to put all Democrats in there. So this man is a Republican from New Hampshire, and he wanted the job. Barack Obama gave it to him. Today, apparently, they want to show that Barack Obama is having problems because this makes the third man to withdraw. Now, the others, we know why they withdrew, because of some problems with taxes or whatever. This man withdrew because he said he made a mistake when he said yes. No, he did not. He was not asked by Barack Obama. He offered himself. And Barack Obama chose him and gave him the job as Commerce Secretary. All they're doing is to make Barack Obama look bad. All they're doing is trying to, if this man would have stopped, and that's what they're trying to program you. All these little things that you see, and all these little things that they do, that goes in programming you one way. They are programming you one way and one way only, whichever, way they want to. So we're going to show you a little clip of exactly how people are programmed. And how the media, the lies that they tell you, the more lies they tell you, the more you start believing all these lies. Let's go.
Now, there are two primary means by which people are manipulated and controlled. One is very simple, very basic, and that is simply the control of information. And the control of, if we don't have all of the facts on any particular topic, then our judgment is going to be no better than the quality of our information.
America forms its opinions by information that's provided to them. And common sense will tell you that if the information that you get from your mainstream media is misinformation or disinformation or even a lie, then common sense will tell you that the opinion is an extension of the lie. Now, unfortunately, America, and indeed the rest of the world, is getting information that's being massaged, it's being spun, it's being prepared for them for consumption.
Television is a massive mass hypnotist to the global mind. And what happens is, it is implanting a belief in reality by the minute. And then, once we take on that belief, implanted, when information enters the eyes, we edit it on the basis of that belief. And so, what the global population is subjected to, suffering from,
lies, lies, lies.
It's all right. That's okay. A little technical difficulty there, but you can cue it to that next one, though. But what was said is plenty enough. It's controlled information that you're getting. Controlled information, lies. When you get nothing but lies, your opinion is formed based on those lies. But when enough people believe in those lies become reality. It's not facts, but reality. And there's a difference between fact and reality. Because you create reality, your collective thoughts and opinions become reality. Because your collective thoughts that are being programmed to think one way, 6 million Jews died. You see it everywhere. You see it in the movies. You see it on talk shows. You see it everywhere. In history books, 6 million Jews, even though those history books were revised and the number changed up or down in some instances until it became, you know, thank God I live in the United States, because it would be against the law to speak about the Holocaust in Europe. Now, with this thing about Richard Williamson, it might become a law. We are probably one of the few Western democracies that does not have law against Holocaust. You don't have to deny the Holocaust. All you have to do is say, are you sure there were 600? But you see, everybody believes that number because it became a reality. When many people believe that, it becomes a reality, even though it's not a fact, but it's a reality. And that's exactly how this thing works. Now, William Richardson is being slaughtered out there. He is being, I mean, the man is going through, just because he said, I don't think there were gas chambers there. I mean, let the man be wrong. Why people can't deny the existence of God? Why can't people deny and call George Bush all kind of stuff? Why can't people burn the American flag? Why can't people do whatever they do? And it's freedom of expression, freedom of speech. What about this bishop? Doesn't he have freedom of speech? Doesn't he have human rights? You know, one of the organizations that are actually after him is an organization called the Jewish Something for Human Rights. What about his rights? Isn't he human? This is happening to him because of this interview that we are about to play. Listen carefully to what he said, and that's why he's been taken out of his position. The Jewish leadership in the world, like 100 Jewish organizations, went to the Vatican to put pressure on the Pope, and the Pope did. He bent. And his society that he's been, the Society of St. Pius X, that he gave his life to, they deserted him. Let's play and see what his crime was.
It was all lies, lies, lies. Are these your words?
You're quoting from Canada, I believe, yes, of many years ago. I believe that the historical evidence is hugely against 6 million Jews having been deliberately gassed in gas chambers as a deliberate policy of Adolf Hitler.
But you say not one Jew was killed.
In gas chambers.
So there was no gas chambers?
I believe there were no gas chambers, yes. I think as far as I have studied the evidence, I'm not going by emotion, I'm going by, as far as I've understood the evidence, I think, for instance, people who are against what is very widely believed today about, quote-unquote, the Holocaust, I think that people those people conclude, the revisionists as they're called, I think the most serious conclude that between 200,000 and 300,000 Jews perished in Nazi concentration camps, but not one of them by gassing in a gas chamber. You may have heard of the Leuchter report. Fred Leuchter was an expert in gas chambers. He designed 3 gas chambers for 3 states, 3 of the 50 United States, for the execution of criminals. So he knew what's involved. And he studied what the supposed gas chambers in Germany at some point in the 1980s, what remains of the supposed gas chambers, the crematoria at Birkenau, Auschwitz, for instance. And his conclusion, his expert conclusion was it's impossible that these could ever have served for the gassing of large numbers of people. Because cyanide gas is very dangerous. If you let's supposing you gas 300 people that you've crowded into one chamber and you gas them, they're all wearing some clothes, or for instance, if they're wearing any clothes, it's very dangerous to go in and pull out the corpses, because one whiff of gas that's trapped in the clothing and escapes from the clothing will kill the person. It's extremely dangerous. In order to, once you've gassed people, you've got to get rid of it, you've got to evacuate the gas to be able to get into the chamber again and use it. To evacuate the gas, you need a high chimney. If it's a low chimney, the gas goes onto the pavement and kills anybody walking by. You need a high chimney, right? I forget how high he says it must be. If there was a high chimney, then the shadow, most times of day, the shadow would have fallen on the ground, and the Allied aerial photographers that flew over the camps would have picked up the shadow of this chimney. There were never any such shadows. There was no such
Absolutely
chimney.
no.
Which gets called in.
Nobody is accounting for what they're spending.
Okay. Well, so you heard what he said. You don't agree with him, that's fine. But why is it the Holocaust is the only area of life, the only, whatever you want to call it, that you will lose your job, lose your career, lose your life sometimes just because you don't believe in some of it? Now, regardless if you agree with what the bishop said or not, doesn't he have the right? Some of you might think, oh, how horrible of that bishop. That's fine. Whatever your opinion of what he said, that's fine, no problem. But doesn't he have the right to say it? And why don't we have an investigation of the Holocaust? You see, there are two things now that we cannot have an investigation of. The Holocaust is one, and 9/11 is the other one. Why? Why can't we have an independent... Look, the Holocaust has been, what, 40 years, 60 years ago? That's okay. There are scholars, there are historians, there are people all around the world who can actually tackle that issue. Why aren't they letting anyone do it? That's why Bishop Richard Williamson was taken off of his position a couple of days ago in Argentina in the Society of St. Pius X seminary. Now, he was interviewed a couple of days ago by Spiegel magazine, and they asked him, they said, the Vatican is demanding that you retract your denial of the Holocaust, and it is threatening to not allow you to resume your activities as a bishop. How will you react? Now, I've never been a bishop in my life, but I think a bishop is a big thing, and especially what Richard Williamson has achieved. All you have to do is go see what the man has done. But this is what he answered. This is what he said. He said, throughout my life, I have always sought the truth. That is why I converted to Catholicism, and I became a priest. And now I can only say something, the truth of which I'm convinced. Why can't a man say what he is convinced of, regardless of what it is? We trust this man to tell us about God, but yet when he says something about earthly matter, we want to shoot him down. Let's go to the phones with Larry on line 1. Larry.
Good evening, Dr. Tillawi.
Good evening.
I believe... Hello?
You're there.
I believe the bishop has a right to say that. He still has his life. I want to ask you a question. If the bishop would go, say like Saudi Arabia or Gaza, and open the Quran in the middle of the street in front of everybody, throw it on the ground and burn it, would he still have his life?
What does that have anything? Why are you bringing?
Because you always pick it on the Jews.
Listen, Larry. Do you have anything to say about the bishop and about this? If not, I'm going to cut you off. You got 2 seconds. You got 2 seconds. The man is what?
The man is a fool.
That's your right. That's your right.
But he would be dead if he do anything about the Quran.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Why don't you tell the
I
truth?
will not answer a hypothetical situation. If the man wants to go and
But
do
leave
it,
the Jews alone.
if the man, that's the whole problem with you. Just leave the Jews alone.
Alone. I told you that. You're going to have to answer for that one day. I told you.
Answer to who?
To God.
Who's God?
Jesus Christ is God.
Jesus Christ is the God of the Jews?
It's God of the world. Whether
Is
you
Jesus
believe
Christ
it or
the
not.
God of the Jews?
The
Do you have
God
any
who wrote-
idea? Do you have
wrote
any
the
idea
Ten
what the
Commandments on
Jews?
your heart.
Listen, Larry. Do you have any idea what the Jews teach about Jesus?
I know they have a lot. I listen to the Messianic Jews.
No.
That's
tell me.
right.
Listen, tell me. Okay, now we got about 14 million Jews in the world.
Yeah.
Do you know what they teach in their Talmud about Jesus?
Well, I know a lot of them don't believe that Jesus is God. I know they don't believe in him. I know
Do you know
that.
what they believe in him?
But I believe in the Messianic
Listen,
Jews.
if you tell me you know, then spit it out.
But God's not
What?
finished with the Jews. God's not finished with them.
God is not finished with them?
No, he punished them all through the ages. You know
Uh-huh.
this.
What he
and
wants
he's
to
not finished with them. But
What is he
going
gonna do?
He's
Tell
gonna.
me-
They're
tell
going
me
to reign
what
with him
God-
in Jerusalem one day.
Huh?
The Jews will reign with God in Jerusalem one day.
Okay.
That's,
Well, that's-
right.
that's
Their
exactly-
homeland.
Yeah,
Their
well,
land.
that's what they want to do. That's exactly
But
they
they
want to
will.
rule.
But the Messianic Jews
Yeah.
will.
Well, that's what. But you know what? Now, what do you call Messianic Jews?
Jews that believe, that born again Jews that believe in Jesus, that believe the Bible,
That believe in Jesus.
that believe
How
in
many
Jesus.
Jew-
They
now,
know
do you know-
Jesus is God.
Okay, now do
The
you know?
Messianic Jew.
Hold on. Okay, do you know
Know
who's?
that?
Listen, Larry. Do you know who's ruling Israel now?
Yeah, the Jews.
Are they the Messianic Jews?
No, they're not ruling them right now.
Oh, they're not ruling them. So
No,
God,
but they're there.
so God brought some
But they're
Jews
there.
from Europe.
That's right.
And made them over there and gave them the land that belonged to somebody else and
right.
told them make the state that you're going to control the world. And those are not the Jews you're talking about. That God wants them to rule the world.
Oh no, he said he would bring them
Do
back.
you know that more than half of the society in Israel, the Jews, those who call themselves Jews in Israel, don't believe in God?
It doesn't matter.
Did you know that?
It doesn't matter.
Do you
God
know
said
that
he would
those
bring his
who
people
believe?
back.
Do you know those who believe in Judaism? Do you know they don't believe in your God? Do you know they don't believe in
Doesn't
Jesus?
matter.
Do you know what they say about Jesus? Do you know what they say about the Blessed Mary?
It doesn't matter.
Why does it matter?
No,
But
it
your
don't matter
Messianic
because God's not
Jews.
finished with his people.
Oh,
Don't you
he's
know
not
how
finished
he
with them, so
punished
he's
throughout
gonna-
the ages?
Oh, you know
Don't
what?
that prophet,
Let me tell you something.
prophetic thing in the Bible came true?
So are you a born again Jew?
No, I'm a born again Christian.
Oh, so God is gonna leave His Christians
No,
and He's gonna look at His chosen people, right, Larry?
We're just
Larry?
I'm not.
Come
a
on
Jew,
now, you're
but
not
I'm
making
part of-
sense
I'm
here.
part of the church. I'm
Why
part
are
of
you
the
not
church
making
with
sense,
the
Larry?
Jews.
Why are you not making sense, Larry?
I'm making sense. I'm part of the church.
What church?
The Jewish church, God's church.
You are part of the Jewish church.
That's
so,
right.
Now listen, when Jesus went to the temple and chased those Jews out of the temple, and He told them, He said, you can't mix new wine with old wine. Do you know, Larry, what He was talking about when He
Of
said
course.
that?
He gave me-
What was He talking about? You know anything about the Pharisees, Larry?
Oh yeah, those rotten Pharisees.
Oh, yes, exactly. Those were the Jews, Larry.
They're still around.
Those are the ones who are still around. Those are the ones we're fighting, Larry.
Of course.
Larry,
But
move
that's
on
not-
to this side because that's who we're
That's
fighting.
not
We're
gonna
fighting
deal with
Pharisees.
these people.
We're fighting Pharisees, Larry. Move on to our side. Leave that junk alone because it's nothing but
I would
junk, Larry.
never move on to
Leave it alone.
this-
You want to be on the side of God, be on the side of
I
peace.
am on the side of
be
God.
on the side of truth.
Trust
be
me.
on the side of love. Don't be on
I
the side
am.
of hatred. Don't be on the side of
You
killing
are
babies.
hating the Jews. All you
Don't
talk about, all
be
you show is hate,
exactly.
hate,
no,
hate,
no, no.
hate.
That's not hatred.
Hate,
Bringing
hate.
the truth,
Jews.
Larry.
No, there's no Holocaust.
Larry,
There's every time somebody,
Larry.
every person you put
Larry.
on the show, you always try to make them say something about the Jews.
Okay, exactly.
How wrong they are. They're not
Because
wrong.
I want to expose those people
I
that
just
Jesus Christ exposed, and he told them, you know what he told them? He said, listen,
There's no Arab country
do you
that can
know,
touch him.
forget about
He
that.
can't
Let's stick with the topic you opened
They have
up.
a big brother. He's called Jesus.
Let's stick with the topic you opened up.
They don't need the United
Listen,
States.
I can
You
talk
think
to
they
you
need
about
us?
any topic you want, but Jesus told them
The topic
that
is
he
Jews.
is
That's
there.
always your topic.
All right. Jesus told those Jews that he is there to teach them the laws of Moses, because they got away from it. They became the Pharisees who worship Satan. Okay? Truth is hard and harsh at the same time. We finished with our religion, our religious lesson for today. God, can you imagine this Larry guy? He didn't really know where he was going with this, did he? He thought that God actually chose those Jews that he thought they were to run the world. Well, guess what? They're running the world now. They are running the world. And we're going to show you now the next clip. You will see that this man talking to you knows his stuff. Because I told you years ago, over 4 years ago, I told you, I said, the war that we will lose, I told you we can go and destroy the whole world 10 times over, but the economic war, the financial war, that's the one that we are very vulnerable against, and we will lose it. You can see that in the economy now. We're going to play now. I want to tell you what you're going to be listening to, because I want you to listen at the time when the senator mentions what they were told about that big bailout. Remember the bailout back in October of last year? What were they told about it? What it was for? Let's play.
Utility bills in 1 week.
Yes.
All right? I haven't got enough money to feed my family, but I make too much to get food stamps. I don't even make $10 an hour.
Right.
Now, if you took that money and subdivided it between the taxpayers in this country, we would stimulate the economy. You know why? Because we'd go out and pay off bills, pay off tax debts, create jobs, and buy stuff that we need.
Caller.
That's how you stimulate the economy. I'll take my answer off the phone.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. And I understand that frustration. Quite frankly, I'm equally frustrated as you are. I'm not necessarily in your particular experience or circumstance to be that frustrated by, but I'm frustrated too. But it's because of the misconceptions out there that things were done that are misunderstood. We did not give the $700 billion for the purpose of lending money. That was never in the program. It was misconstrued initially and put together with the suggestion by the Secretary of Treasury that we would be buying what we called dirty assets, defective mortgages and securities that were held in these banks, that the government would find a way to create a market, buy them in, take them off the balance sheets of the banks so that the banks could continue to function normally.
Did you support that?
I supported that, but also part of the bill, we gave the jurisdiction and authority to the Secretary of Treasury to make investments in banks. He had very wide authority because, quite frankly, we're not the experts on the Hill as to how to solve this problem, and the problem is a multifaceted problem, so we gave great flexibility to the Secretary of Treasury to act.
So what would you say, though, then, to somebody who says Paul Kanjorski is supporting Wall Street but not Main Street with this latest $825 billion package now moving through the House?
They are right to this extent. Why did we do that? We did that because the Secretary... Look, I was there when the Secretary and the Chairman of the Federal Reserve came those days and talked with members of Congress about what was going on. It was about September 15th. Here's the facts, and we don't even talk about these things. On Thursday at about 11 o'clock in the morning, the Federal Reserve noticed a tremendous drawdown of money market accounts in the United States to the tune of $550 billion was being drawn out in a matter of an hour or two. The Treasury opened up its window to help They pumped $105 billion in the system and quickly realized that they could not stem the tide. We were having an electronic run on the banks. They decided to close the operation, close down the money accounts, and announce a guarantee of $250,000 per account so there wouldn't be further panic out there. And that's what actually happened. If they had not done that, their estimation was that by 2 o'clock that afternoon, $5.5 trillion would have been drawn out of the money market system of the United States, would have collapsed the entire economy of the United States, and within 24 hours the world economy would have collapsed. Now, we talked at that time about what would happen if that happened. It would have been the end of our economic system and our political system as we know it. And that's why, when they made the point, we've got to act and do things quickly, we did. Now, Secretary Paulson said, let's buy out the subprime mortgages. That's what he came to Congress, but he said, give us latitude and large authority to do many things as we decide necessary, and give us $700 billion to do that. Shortly after we enacted our bill with those very broad powers, the UK came out and said, no, we don't have enough money to buy toxic assets. Instead, we're going to put our money into banks so that their equity grows and they're not bankrupt. And so the UK started that process, and that's true. It was much cheaper to put more money in banks as equity investments than to start buying their bad assets, because it became early determined that we'd probably have to spend $3 or $4 trillion of taxpayers' money to buy these bad assets. And we only had $700 billion. So Paulson made a complete switch, went in and started putting money in buying securities and reinvesting in the banks in the United States. Why? Because if you don't have a banking system, you don't have an economy. And although we did that, it wasn't enough money, and as fast as we did that, the economy has been falling. And the reason last week, we're really no better off today than we were 3 months ago, because we've had a decrease in the equity positions of banks because other assets are going sour by the moment. Now, we've got to make some decisions. Do we pour more money in? To what extent that money goes in? I myself think we ought to take the time, analyze where we are, have the people understand. When you listen to a lady that just got off the telephone, she is near panic, and she doesn't think her government's acting properly or acting in her behalf. I think it's important that we start informing that lady as to what really were the facts, what happened, and get input from her. Maybe she has a better idea. You know, we're not any geniuses in economics or finance anyhow. We're representatives of the people. We ought to take our time, but let the people know this is a very difficult struggle. Somebody threw us in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean without a life raft, and we're trying to determine what's the closest shore and whether there's any chance in the world to swim that far. We don't know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Well, I said senator, but that's Congressman Paul Konjarsky from Pennsylvania, Democrat from Pennsylvania. Now, what I told you that day when we did have, back in October, actually back in September, when we did have the huge, I don't know what to call it, loss of money, banks going bankrupt overnight. We told you where all that money went. 3 banks in Israel got the majority of the money that was drawn out from the United States. And I told you back then, I didn't even know. This was only a couple of days ago. I did not even know what was happening, but I knew. I'm not an economist, I'm not a banker, but I knew that an economy like the United States does not go bankrupt overnight. Banks like all these huge banks that went bankrupt, Citibank, Citigroup, whatever they are, all of them, they don't go bankrupt overnight. Was it the Lehman Brothers that lost about $50 billion? Did you hear what the congressman said? He said by 11 o'clock on September 15th, $550 billion were taken out of money market. Do you know what money market is? The money market is where the money is. The money market is where liquid is, because everything else is an investment. Everything else is an investment in bad debt, in homes, mortgages, companies, stocks, bond, mutual funds. The only thing we have, the only blood we have running through the country is money markets. And somebody, if you listen to his last comments, what did he say? He said, somebody threw us in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean without a life raft. He said somebody, so this, if somebody threw us in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, then somebody made the decision to make the run on the money markets. And it was not you, it was not I, we did not even know anything of what's going on. It is the people that control this, it is the people with money, the people who know what's going on, and those are the people who did it. We were under, somebody wanted to bring the United States and destroy it financially. Somebody wanted to bankrupt the country. If the Treasury Department did not shut off that valve, if the Treasury Department did not shut off the valve on all money markets and said no more money be drawn electronically out of the banks, within 2 hours we would have lost $5.5 trillion. So this country, in a matter of 2 hours, was saved, temporary. That was not, we're not saved, we're not out of the Atlantic Ocean yet. We are still treading water. And we can't even see the closest shore to us. We don't know. We can't even see land. We are in the middle of the ocean with sharks. That's how we are surviving. Now, if we don't make it to shore very soon, then the economy will be destroyed. Have you been listening to the tens of thousands of people that have been laid off? Have you been listening to the companies, American corporations that are shutting down their businesses? 100 offices here and 100 offices there, 50 stores here and 100 stores there. Excuse me. Have you been watching and listening? This is where we are headed. The question is, who did it? Why the government did not tell us that we were on the brink of insolvency here in this country? We were on the, you know, if you remember what Brad Sherman said. Now, I did play Congressman Brad Sherman on the House, on the floor of the House, when he made his speech, and he said they came to us and they threatened us that we're going to have chaos in the street tomorrow morning. We're going to have martial law throughout the country if you don't pass that $790 billion, whatever it was, $780 billion bailout. You remember that. This was only a few months ago. Congressman Paul Krajewski from Pennsylvania told us today what the problem was. We were under a severe attack, electronic attack on our money markets. We gave you the names of 3 banks in Israel that made up or made out with the majority of that money. You go figure. Is this how they're going to rule out the world? Were they trying to get the money from the United States to Israel, to banks in Israel, so they can rule the world from Israel? But those are not God's chosen people, though. Those are not God's chosen people. Why the government is not telling us? Why the government did not tell us that our lives were threatened on September 15th? Isn't that too close to September 11th? Isn't that too close to September 11th? Al-Qaeda can't do that. Al-Qaeda does not have the capability of making a run on our banks. Who controls money? Who controls banks? Who know or who knows where the money is in the United States? Not me, not you, not your little banker in your hometown. It's those guys up there in New York. It's those guys who made it. The money market. That's exactly what happened. $5.5 trillion. If that would have happened, the whole world would be destroyed economically. The only ones who will have money to make it and control everybody else's lives is right there in Israel, in Palestine. And it won't be the Palestinians. I guarantee you that. The truth, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't want to demand anything, just demand the truth. Why the government did not tell us this? You know, the congressman said that we do need to inform these people of exactly why we had to do what we had to do. Yes, I agree with him. What they had to do is basically put money in the money market. Put blood in the body. That's what they wanted to do. And unfortunately, yes, they had to give the money to the banks, because that's the only way you're going to keep the economic system in the United States going, is if banks have money, if banks have liquid, if banks have blood. I guess think of banks as the heart of the country, pumping blood throughout the veins. That's exactly what's going on. And that's what happened. Well, I think we only have a couple of minutes left, so if anyone wants to call, we have some lines open. Well, we got 4 minutes, so if anyone wants to squeeze a call very quickly, we will take it. If not, we will continue telling you the truth. Now, we're not saying we have the answer. No, we have questions. We have lots of questions, which I think you should have questions to your congressmen and senators. What exactly took place on September 15th, 2008? What exactly took place there? What took place? What took place that was going to do away with your future, your children's future, with everything, the economy? If you think the depression in the 20s was bad, this would have been an overnight, it would have been the end of the United States as you knew it. Sitting on an arsenal of nuclear bombs and an arsenal of God knows what weapons we have, space weapons. It would not have done us, it could not even protect us for 1 hour, because that's how long it took to get 500, what did he say, 450 billion? 550 billion. And he said within 2 hours, at the rate it was going. You see, the Treasury, when they saw that 550 billion by 11 o'clock was gone, they tried to pump and say, hey, look, you know, this must be something, so let's put 105 billion. And they put 105 billion of liquid, of blood. They put a liter of blood in there, but it was not enough. They said, let's shut it off. Let's shut it off. That's the only way, is to cut it off. Otherwise, within 2 hours, would have lost 500 or $5.5 trillion, according to Congressman Paul Konjarsky from Pennsylvania. Konjarsky. He said it. We were doomed, but I guess we are okay now. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we'll try to continue on this economic thing. Current issues, we bring you what currently is going on. And this is what currently is going on, and we will try to keep shedding more lights on this subject, the economy, because it is going to be a very bad 2009 for all of us economically. And just Sit tight. Be careful what you're doing, because if you have a job, you're lucky. Because many people are losing their jobs, many people. And that's exactly what we have. This is what our economy is going on right now. It's an open drain. We don't know when it will stop. Anyway, that's, I guess that's very much what I have for tonight. And we will see you next Thursday. We're going to continue with everything. Now this little guy is going to look in that camera and say, good night, everyone. No, they can't hear you. Get the camera here, huh? Here, just look in that camera and say, good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
You're not looking at, are you looking at the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're saying good night, everyone? All right. We'll see you next Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. That's all for us here. Good night. Go do that.
The views and opinions expressed in the previous program are strictly those of the segment producer and do not reflect the views of Acadiana Open Channel